changing this thing right now. Right, I don't know if you guys can see it. Probably you can. But yeah.
Because I just interviewed one of the best players in the world when it comes to Lost Ark PvP, and we put together a detailed tier list going over each and every class currently out in Korea.
Maybe the
Typhoon,
class are
aka
released? Yeah, possible.
Typhoon, was one of the 3 members of the championship team that won the last Royal Roads tournament, which was the official Lost Ark PvP tournament. He's currently ranked 7th this season and also happens to be the best striker in the world. Huge shout out to Typhoon. Links to his social can be found in the description below, as he streams on Twitch and uploads on YouTube. Definitely check him out and show him some love. This is actually part 2 of a 2-part series. The first segment, Typhoon and I go over some other PvP related questions that you'll definitely want to check out. Link in the description. Let me just say that I do want to apologize for how long this video is. I hope you can understand, because I did have to translate, and that translation period really takes a lot of time. I try my best to not only understand what he was saying, but to understand the context of what he was saying.
Yeah, I'll keep it over there, by the way. Twitch.tv right there. That's basically Typhoon right there. Do give him a follow if you care about PvP, because I watch like him as well for PvP stuff. So yeah, sup Ross?
Coming up next, I do plan on working with Typhoon to get some juicy class guys out there. I'm thinking Striker, Scout,
no, I do think it
even
should be
Bard.
A as
I
well,
don't know.
Ross.
Let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see. As always, like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch.
Is he good, man? Yeah, he's amazing, dude. If you see his gameplay, dude. Yeah, he's really good, man. Like, I wanna be like him if I wanna do like PvP. But yeah.
Moving forward, I'm going to be putting out a bunch of Lost Ark content, and if you have any questions outside of the comment section, the best way to reach me is on Twitch. Background info to the tier list. Keep in mind, guys, this is not my personal information. This is not my personal tier list. We've been joined here by Typhoon, Grandmaster rank number 7, also champion of the latest official PvP tournament.
Yeah, it's
so
insane
you
PvP.
could actually argue saying that he's one of the best in the world. So this is a single person's opinion. It is the opinion of one of the best players in the world in PvP. And this is based off of a 3 versus 3 team deathmatch rated game type. Okay, this is not a 1v1 tier list. This is based off of the 3v3 rated team deathmatch, because in Lost Ark, 3v3 deathmatch, team deathmatch is the only rated, it's the only significant type of PvP that's in the game. Everything else, all the other game types are not rated. So that's what this tier list is based off of. So we're gonna go in this order here. So
yeah, rated, yeah. Yeah. So that's basically the disclaimer for people that doesn't really use their head to think. But yeah.
So we've
disclaimer.
got the Zerker first. Okay, Pozoko, Zerker. All right. So what do you think about the Zerker? Where would you put the Zerkers? Pozoko 어떻게 생각해요?
버서커는 원래 한 C 정도였는데요. 이번에 상향을 먹었어요. 이번에 좀 버프를 먹어서.
오, 네네네.
그래서 이제 폭주라고 이제 아이덴티티 버서커 아이덴티티
Weird
폭주라고
Tierlist? I don't think so.
네네네.
그게 이제 하루 한 판에 2번 켜지던 게 3번 켜져요.
오.
그게 엄청난 메리트라고 생각돼서.
Oh, there is this
B
thing.
정도.
P 정도? 네.
네.
So Zerker
Legion
actually
rate tier
recently
list.
got buffed, and this is the reason why he's actually putting in the B tier. So the Zerker identity skill was recently buffed. Normally in one game, on average, you could use it twice, but now it's been buffed so that you could pretty much get it 3 times a game, and that's really, really significant. So the other thing I want to actually ask him is, it's interesting because we were talking about maybe like a Zerker with a Bard and a Lancemaster would be a really good comp, one of the ideal comps to have, and he actually won with a Zerker in his comp. It's kind of I'm kind of curious why you would put this in the B tier if this is like a championship level. Be it was like a couple of years ago, but like why would you put it in a B tier if Zerker can be in what's considered an ideal comp and you actually won a championship with Zerker?
The man have experience, so the tier list will close to be perfect. I don't think it's always the case, Vanilla, because there is always the bias, right? You still play like one class the most, so you still see like the difference between like this or something like that. Like he plays striker the most or something like that, or he plays scout the most, something like that. So yeah. So being React Andy had to join. React Andy, let's go. Yeah, we React Andy now.
그 버서커가 일단 하드 CC가
It sound okay by the way, boys. Sound okay.
시작하고요.
네.
애가 스킬 쿨 타임이 길어서
네네네.
팀적으로 그 버서커에 좀 맞춰줘야 돼요.
네네네네.
이제 진입 타이밍, 그 들어가는 타이밍, 빠지는 타이밍 그런 걸 이제 좀 버서커에 맞춰줘야 돼서
네네.
그런 쪽으로 운영이 좀 어렵고 이제
네네.
그런 게 이제 솔로큐에서 좀 안 좋기 때문에
네네네.
그런 운영을 하기가 사실상 솔로큐에서는 좀 별로거든요.
아 그렇구나.
그래서 이제 B급이고요. 이제 대신 팀적으로 올라가면 버서커 캐릭터 티어가 좀 올라가긴 한데
네네.
일단은 이 티어 메이커는 일단 솔로를
그죠.
기준으로 얘기를
네.
하겠습니다.
네,
가드랑
알겠습니다.
시너지가 좋아요.
아 그렇구나. Okay, so Zerker has
Yeah, interesting. Even within Imperial always be there, even with tier list and reasonably strong. Yeah, they make their own tier list in their head, right? Here's the difference between his tier list in his head compared to the other people, though. His actually has experience, right? He has his points, right? He shows him over here, over there, and everything, right? His argument is that like it's not that great in the lower rank because like people don't do teamwork not as much, and cooldown from like Zerg being like 20-30 seconds for all of them makes it like difficult to basically organize like a team fight. So his has like a legit reason compared to like maybe like some random guy that just PvPs like whatever, maybe like bronze rank or silver rank, voicing their opinion, right? Basically, that's the difference. Because they never see like let's say a berserker in a high rank with like a proper team comp that like play like a team, right? That's basically the difference mainly. So yeah, it's one of the few rare credible tier lists. Yeah, this is one of the first like tier lists that I have hopes of like being really accurate. So yeah.
very good synergy with Bard, and to be specific, we're talking about 3v3 team deathmatch rated solo queue because it's the only game type that's in. It's different from championship level play when you get to do pre-mates. If this was a pre-made, he'd put Zerker in a higher tier, but with this game mode that we have, he puts it in a B tier because it's actually considered not that great to solo queue with, because and one of the main reasons is the fact that the class has really high cooldowns, so it's difficult to have that team synergy with a Zerker because you have to wait for the Zerker to get his cooldowns recovered, right? And to be able to do that in a solo queue environment becomes really difficult, which is why he put it in the B tier.
Yeah, that's what I said as well, right? And yeah, he did say that like in the higher rank and not the higher rank, and with the pre-made you can put it on A because you have like a better team synergy. So it being B, I can see it being B now. Like I can agree with him being B, putting it on like a rank solo queue because like that's the only game mode for rank, right? At this point. So I guess so. I mean like I would put it at A. I mean like its disadvantage is like it's really straightforward as well, right? Long cooldown. Everyone knows how Zerg plays in like PvP, so it's not really that difficult to counter him as well, especially with the long cooldowns it is. But yeah, you put it at B, yeah. I would put it probably like B to A, same thing though. I would still put it at the higher, at like B to A still. But yeah, I can respect his opinion of being it on B still. So yeah, yeah, I agree with Zerg being in B tier in 3v3. Yeah, I mean like it's a fair argument. It's a fair argument because like rank solo queue, you can only solo queue, right? Solo queue is the only thing. So you have to rely on like other people to basically work with you, not you work with them to work with you, which makes it much more difficult to actually utilize it optimally basically. So being B, I think like I can see it being B as well. So yeah.
좋아요. 월러드는요? 월러드는 어떻게 생각해요? What about Warlord?
워로드는 일단은 A 티어입니다.
A tier. 네.
A 티어고
네, 네.
이제 장단점이 있어요. 이제 장단점을 좀 제가 설명을 한번 해드릴게요.
네,
이제 워로드는 그러니까 워로드 이제 실드 캐릭터예요.
네,
그러니까
네.
파티 실드, 파티 시너지 실드 캐릭터라서 케어가 좀
네,
그거
파티
하나만 좀
시너지.
높게 들어가고요. 이제 워로드가 레인지 캐릭터한테 좀 약한 모습을 보여주지만 이제 빌드 캐릭터는 웬만하면
Nalasia shield's OP. It's not as OP as you think it is because like the amount of shield that you have is actually reduced in like PvP.
이제 판정 싸움을
Sorry, I'm talking
이길
over
수 있는
him.
캐릭터가 몇 없고 이제 팀 시너지 그게 제일 크죠. 그거랑 이제 그 5초라는 짧은 스페이스바 그
네.
스페이스바가 이제 그거죠. 그 하드 CC 에어본이나 뭐 스턴 다 무시하는
네. 대시, 그 대시요. 네.
네 그거랑 이제 그 다른 클래스가 최소 6초예요.
네.
워로드는 5초고요.
네, 네.
예,
월러드만?
평균 한 8, 9초 돼요. 평균 한 8초 정도 되는데 워르드가 5초고요.
클래스마다
워르드
다르구나. 네,
네, 크리스마스 달라요. 그 워르드만 5초예요.
네, 네, 네.
그리고 이제 카운터 스피어라는 엄청 좋은 스킬.
카운터 스피어. 네.
Counter spear,
카운터
counter spear.
스피어가 그 하드 CC 이런 거 다 무시해요 하거든요. 에어본, 스턴 다 무시하는데 이런 좋은 스킬을 가지고 있고, 네 이제 워르드의 체력 방어력 개수가
네, 네, 네.
모든 캐릭터 중에 제일 높아요. 그래서 이제 팀 게임에서 엄청 좋죠.
Yeah, exactly right, Frost.
Awesome.
Back
All right,
dash
so
is stress
Warlord, we
always
got
people.
Warlord at the A tier. Just the fact that it's a shield character and can provide shields to the party puts it at puts it at a high tier just out the gate. You know, just that fact alone. Some of the weaknesses that Warlord has is to range classes, and but they are strong against melee classes. In a 1v1 situation, when it comes to like melee, there are not a lot of melee classes that can actually beat it. They're just weak to range classes. They're also really good with team synergy because of obviously the shields that it gives. It gives a lot of damage. It gives damage reduction buffs to the team, which is very useful. Another reason why it's good, another pro, is that it's spacebar dash, your iframe that you have, or
It's
not
not iframe.
I shouldn't call it an iframe, just your spacebar dash. Every class has a spacebar dash.
You're welcome.
It has the lowest spacebar dash cooldown in the game, 5 seconds. All the other classes are anywhere from 6 to 8 seconds. It has a counter spear skill which ignores all CC and damage when actually using the skill, including hard CCs like stun and freeze and things like that. It has that as well, and the final point is that it has high base stats. So we have Warlord in the A tier. So Holy Knight has
Should go back first. Yeah. A tier, A tier. Provides party shield, insta high tier pick from his support, right? The thing about Nelasia is the shield skill, right? It doesn't provide as much as you think it is, because like shield value is actually lowered in PvP. But it still provides a shield for the party, which could save people from dying. So I mean, yeah, it just by that point it already makes it like really strong. I don't think it's I mean like weak versus range classes. It's more like I think like Warlord can't really chase down range classes, but you don't really need to chase range classes to begin with, I feel like. So yeah, but then you rely on your team to do that, I guess. So I guess the fact that you're solo queue means you have to rely on your team as well. So yeah, counters most melee in 1v1, pretty much, yeah. 5-second spacebar dash, this is what people always don't like, by the way. People really don't like the backdash that Warlord has. All I can say is just get used to it, man. Just don't be bad, you know. I think like Warlord being a 5-second spacebar is one of the strongest like spacebar you can have in the game. But most people just can't get used to it for some reason. You just move your mouse to the other side, man, and then like press spacebar. It's really easy to actually get used to it. So yeah, counter spear, very strong. Yep, basically immune to everything when you use it. Even you just can't. You just need to aim it, I guess, because it counters in front of you mainly. And the base stat is higher. I think like it's 2.5 health and 1.2 armor coefficient, which is like the highest you have in the game. So yeah. Does having a shield give you a certain CC immunity, or was that season 1 lost arc? Depending on the shield, it gives you some CC immunity. For example, Blaster Shield, when you tripod it properly, it doesn't let you get knocked down. You can still get hard CC though. So yeah. It's good to pop that shield when your team fails opener. Well, all of those shield can basically save the team, depending on the timing that you use it. Or you can use it as an opener as well. You use your shield, and then your team opens with that, which makes like your team already an advantage through Nelasia. So yeah, it does give damage reduction with that. That does make it like but I mean like you don't see it as like when you see it in PvE, the shield is much bigger than in PvP. So in PvP, it's not that big. So yeah, it's just the Monster Hunter backdash, pretty much. Yeah, War Spaces like Caitlyn E in League of Legends. Well, I don't really play League, but yeah.
high base stats. So we have Warlord in the A tier. So Holy Knight는요? Holy Knight.
홀리나이트 이제 제가 아까 말했듯이 그 서포팅 능력이 엄청 좋아요.
네네네.
근데 이제 팀 팀 실드
네.
그리고 이제 데미지 리듀스 이런 거
팀
다 있고
시너지.
그게 이제 엄청 뛰어나죠.
네.
서포트 캐릭이라
네.
거기에다가 이제 본인 개인 실드도 그러니까 1인 실드도 엄청
네.
좋아서 이제 살짝 그 앞에서 버텨주는 그런 역할도 잘 돼 있고요.
네네.
이제 그리고 이제 데미지도 바드보다 세가지고 그러니까 딜러 정도 데미지도 나와서 이게 혼자서 좀 딜링 할 수 있는 능력도 좋고요. 그래서
네.
딜러 정도 바드와 딜러의 사이
그죠. 아 오케이.
한 그 정도 데미지가 나와서
네. 그러면 S 티어를 넣을까요?
S tier.
아니면 무슨 티어 생각이에요?
S 티어로 넣어주세요.
S tier.
홀리나이트 S 티어입니다.
Holy Knight S tier. As one of the two support classes, you have shields that you could provide for your team, damage reduction. It's a support character. You have a shield he has a shield that he can use for himself, solo shield, and he also does more damage than a bard and can compete in damage with some of the DPS classes. So he actually does really good damage. As far as where on the scale, somewhere between Bard and actual DPS classes would be where the Holy Knight DPS would be in terms of damage. All right, where the Holy Knight DPS.
This is post buff, post nerf, by the way, because like I think like Holy Knight's damage was actually reduced by like around 15 to 20% in PvP. That's how busted it was before that, and it still does like about as much damage as a DPS class. Can't frontline because you have like a decent super armor. You still have a high stats because you're from the warrior class as well. Have a decent like base stat to actually basically be tanky enough. You can shield, yeah. You have like a decent amount of CC as well, to be honest. I just think like Holy Knight is really strong as well. But I mean like I think like in the lower ranks though, Holy Knight is not that great. Because like first of all, team synergy, right? And then you have to rely for your team. So if you're in the higher rank, then if your team is good, then it's great. But in the lower ranks, no one really works that well with you. So I feel like on the lower ranks it should be lower. It's still supposed to be an S though, I think. So yeah. So I disagree with this one. He's very weak to stagger, even though it's overall strong class. Still, in my opinion, weaker than Bard. I don't think it's weak to stagger at all. You just don't make use of your super armor if that is the case then. Best support / DPS worth nerfing. Well, its DPS it used to be like even stronger than some of the classes, right? And then they get nerfed, and it's still doing comparable. So yeah, my class OP. Why did they not mention counter spear blocks RCC? They did Frost. They did mention that counter spear from Warlord actually blocks like a hard CC. For people that missed it, I guess he said it in Korean maybe, because I know they said it. But yeah, it counter spear counters like even like hard CC. So you cannot even hard CC a Warlord that like uses a counter spear. So yeah, they are super hard to deal against. Yeah, if you balance are long, can get travel, has to use shield and guardian angel at a safe distance. I think you just met like a bad Holy Knights if that is the case then Reigns. Or if that was you then I don't know what to say, man. I don't think so at all. Said it in Korean but not in English. Oh, he said it in Korean, I see. Okay. So that's why I know for a fact that he said it. I don't know, but yeah. I remember that. Alright, let's move on.
Damage. All right. Destroyer는요? Destroyer, last tank. Or not tank, but warrior.
디스트로이어
네.
B에
B?
넣읍시다. 네. 얘는
Alright.
이제 그
B tier.
자기 턴, 그러니까 자기 스킬이 있는
네.
그 특히 인디어 페인이라는 이제 그 에어본 다운 면역하는 한 8초 동안 그 걸어다니는 에어본 다운 면역하는 그 스킬이 있을 땐 엄청 좋고
네.
이제 팀적으로 운영하긴 좋아요. 팀적으로
네.
이제 같이 움직이긴 좋은데 이제 그 기동성, 그러니까 이동기 많은 레인지들한테 좀 많이 약한 모습을 보여주고요.
네네네.
이제 그거랑
많이
밀리도
네.
많이 움직이는 캐릭터한테 약하고 이제
네네.
좀 이제 서머너, 블래스터, 바드 이런 쪽이 고정돼 있는 캐릭터한테는 센데요. 네, 좀 이제 좀 많이 빠르거나 좀 그런 캐릭터한테 좀 약한 편이고 이제 얘도 솔로보다는 이제 팀 게임 팀적으로 움직이는 거에 좀 최적화돼 있어서
네.
네 이제 그런 쪽으로는 데미지도 준수하고 뭐
It's a video, Pijama. It's video.
체방도 그러니까 HP 그거랑 이제 데미지 방어력 개수도 높아서 이제 좀 티어가 B 정도는 되는데 이제 AS로 못 가는 이유가 좀 이제 솔로 큐에서 별로 그 다음에 이제 조합 상성을 많이 타요. 조합 상대 조합에 따라 이제 좀 많이 힘을 못 쓰고 그러는 경우가 좀 있어서
어떻게 보면 약간 버저커하고 그거에 대해서는 조금 비슷하네요.
네네
왜냐면
그건 좀 비슷하죠.
네네. Okay, so Destroyer, we've got the Destroyer at the B tier. It's kind of similar to Zerker in the sense that it's got a good kit. It's just the utility and some of the skills that it brings to the table. You kind of have to. It's better in a team environment, just like Zerker, right? So if you're solo queuing and you're not able to utilize some of these really good skills that they have with the team, then they'll fall off a little bit. So like again, strong kit, but to be able to utilize it with a team in a solo queue environment could become a little bit more difficult, just like how the Zerker is. They have a skill called Endure Pain. I think it's called Endure Pain, where you get like 8 seconds of airborne and down immunity, whereas you get some form of CC immunity to it. You're good against some of the slower classes, like Blaster. You're good against Summoner. Not just the slower classes. Sorry, I should let me rephrase that. But classes like Summoner and Blaster you're strong against, but some of the classes that are faster, like some of the faster melee classes or ranged classes, counter it. And one of the bigger downsides to it is that the classes that can shut down a destroyer can shut it down better than some of these other classes when they're facing their shutdown classes. Let me kind of rephrase that. Sorry. So destroyers get shut down more than some of these other classes when they're facing a class that counters them or a comp that counters them. So it can be a little bit more difficult when it comes to that aspect. But they are pretty beefy, and the damage is also pretty good. Arcana는
Yeah, so Destroyer. Sup, Pixel? Yeah. Endure Pain buff is basically like one of the... I think like Endure Pain is like one of the most OP button in the game for PvP, I think. Because you're immune to like almost everything except hard CC, and then you take like way less damage as well. You basically like unkillable during Endure Pain at all. To be honest, like just like Zerk, I would put Zerk and Destroyer and on A the same thing. The argument was that always the same, right? It's because like it's solo queue, you have to rely on your team basically to work together. So I mean like I can see like putting both on B because of like a team reliant basically. But I'm assuming like let's say if you're in a high rank, if you're in like a let's say like a master or grandmaster, your team should be able to work with you, right? And it should be higher ranked by that point, I think, in my opinion. Yeah, at least I would say like why I think it would be A, like the same with Zerk and Destroyer, both of them. So yeah, just need to over him when he's on Endure Pain. Can't do much. Yeah, you can't really do much against like Destroyer in Endure Pain. So yeah, again something like SM is not great in my opinion. It depends, right? I think like what he said, what he translate was that the class, like when you get countered, the class performs like worse, right? I think is what he said. I think like the literal translation is more like your class doesn't work as well, while the class that counters you becomes stronger because they counter you basically. I think like that's the literal translation between the two. But yeah, Tierlist or GM Bros always good to just do more damage than taken. This is not just like for specific tier GGB. Mid-range, range, mobile character never get into the spin skill. Even if you're like melee range or anything, it doesn't matter whether you get that. Because it's still a super armor. Yeah, you just auto-attack. And you don't get staggered by the spin. It's as easy as that. It's the spin from Destroyer is a level 1 stagger. Which means even an auto-attack makes you not get staggered. Simple as that, basically. So you just need to basically do anything else. Anything, even including auto attack. If it moves you back, let's say, you can get out of the spin by auto attacking. So yeah, at the higher level, at the lower level though, people get like grabbed anyway by the spin, right? Because people don't know that it's a level 1 stagger. But yeah. Alright.
The damage is also pretty good. Arcana는 어때요? Arcana.
아르카나는 이제 아르카나 A 정도?
A 정도야?
네.
A 정도?
네,
오케이.
얘는 이제 솔로에서 좋은 캐릭이거든요. 이제 그랜드마스터 큐는 좀 막 팀 플레이 잘하는 사람들끼리 있을 땐 좀 별론데,
아,
네, 얘가 이제 DPS가 좀 세요.
네.
DPS가 잘 나오고 이제 혼자 기회 잡기 좋고 혼자 이제 다운 빼기 좋고 막 그래가지고 솔로 쪽에선 좋은데 이제 체력 방어력 개수가 좀 안 좋고
네,
이제 팀 버프 시너지가 없어가지고 이제 S까지 못 올라가고.
네. 알겠습니다. So, Arcana is a really good solo class. Really good solo carry class, but they're not amazing in the Grandmaster level when it comes to team play or tournament play, competitive play. They just don't provide enough team buff synergy. They don't provide enough to the team, but they do a lot of damage. So that's why he's got him at the A tier. 모든 클래스 중에서는 솔로 캐리는 제일 좋아요? 아니면 제일 좋은 거는 아니에요?
제일 그냥 좋은 편이에요. 좋은 편.
I was just asking him if Arcana would be considered the best solo carry class when it comes to obviously non-synergy type of team, like solo queue type of play where you're not coordinating with a team. And he says it's up there. He says it's up there. That's what he's saying. So, all right.
Interesting. So his argument right now is actually on the other side. The class for Arcana is like really strong solo queue and falls off at GM with oriented play. Now, first of all, I think like oriented play like starts from like diamond and above. I think at that point like team oriented becomes like a big thing. At least in KR, I think so. But yeah, high DPS, solo playstyle with damage CC. It does have a really low base stat because it's part of the magician one. Is there really no team synergy buff, Frost? I feel like that's not the case, right? I feel like like maybe not enough. But what about like not really, yeah. You just feel with hard CC or staggers with your AoE karting that you can use from off screen. Yeah, interesting. So it's a strong solo queue class basically, because like it can basically carry itself. Interesting, yeah. interesting.
And he says it's up there. He says it's up there. That's what he's
It's
saying.
up there
So,
for a solo
all right,
carry. So those of you that like wants to carry the team or maybe like solo queue or something like that, maybe this is your class right there. Also high skill ceiling. Be careful by the way. You might get wrecked because you can't play it that well. This is 3v3 ranked overall. So yeah, guess that's me. Yeah, probably you, Steve. We'll see. If Blade isn't C tier, I'm turning off the stream. We'll see about that, Jaffer. Pole dancer. Just play Arcana and the other team gets tilted. Maybe, but like when you play with a team together, just you can get countered relatively easy as well. Because like let's say when you're doing like your stagger, the AoE thing from like off screen, you're actually like casting as well. So you're like easily get shit on as well if you don't like pay attention. So team oriented play is a big thing when it comes to it. Against Arcana, I guess I should say. Why would Blade be C tier? Nah, it's just a joke, I think, for Jaffer.
Bard. What about Bard? Our good old Bard. I can almost already put this in S tier. 바로 S tier 넣을까요?
다들 S티어 넣어.
네네네.
다들은 이제 데미지 감소량이 그 팀원 케어 능력이 엄청 좋고요.
네네네.
이제 팀원한테 이제 좀 공격적인 시너지도 그게 엄청 좋고,
네네.
이제 자기 보호 능력도 그러니까 슈퍼 아머 이제 다운과 그 에어본 이런
네.
셀프 슈퍼 아머가 엄청 잘 돼 있는 편이고 스킬에
네.
이제 그거랑 더해서 이제 팀원한테 시너지 중에 바드가 유일하게 그냥 CC 면역, 그러니까 스턴 면역,
네네.
스턴 프리즈 이런 하드 CC 면역하는 스킬이 하나 있어가지고
네네.
그걸 팀원한테 다 두르기 때문에 그게 엄청 말도 안 되는 사기 스킬이라.
So Bard, obviously in the S tier again, support class. They just have really good team synergy, fantastic team synergy. The super armors they get themselves are really good. And then also another really big OP type of skill is that they can provide CC immunity buffs for team members as well. Okay, 좋아요. That they
That's
can
so fast,
provide.
But yeah, very good damage reduction for party. That's for sure right there. Because I've had like 70 as my Bard on PvP, and it can go up to 80 to 90%. I think in terms of like damage reduction. Man of the Cloud, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, I think like it's a really high party damage reduction, which is really good. Offensive team synergy, solid self super armor, because you have like that skill that basically gives you like really strong super armor as well, which is nice. The CC immunity is really annoying when you're going against them because they're immune to CC. Luckily, it's only one hit, so basically like when you do a CC, that thing the immunity is gone basically, and I think it's only 4 second duration as well. So yeah, it does have a really strong CC ability as well. The line stun, and then you just combo it with Soundholic and you do like a lot of damage already. So that's Bard right there. Yeah, Bard S tier right there. That's for sure. I think Bard is not even like I think that much difficult to play. I feel like to go against. So but it's really annoying to go against. So yeah, Nyangnim, 안녕하세요. Bard best class, nothing new. But I don't like Bard game style. Yeah, that's different. I mean, like it's play style, right? So yeah, with triple S when Holy Blade deals 50k damage, 50k damage. Plus, I get a Warlord, Holy Knight, Bard, permanent shielding. I feel like they just don't have enough damage at that point, Nuki. When the party is like that. Summoner Cancer in PvP. We'll go through Summoner after this. So yeah, I don't think it's God tier though. I think it's Okay, we'll watch this and then like I'll
CC
voice my opinion.
immunity buffs for team members as well. Okay, 좋아요. 그러면 Summoner에 대해서 얘기할까요? Should we move on to Summoner?
서머너도 S티어입니다.
S tier. S tier Summoner. Ooh, okay. 네.
이게 얘는 솔로 큐에서
네.
난이도가 엄청 지금 상향을 좀 많이 받아서 버프를 많이 받아서 캐릭터 자체 스펙이 엄청 좋고요.
네.
DPS가 이제 좀 난이도에 비해 컨트롤하기 쉬운데 그 쉬운 난이도에 비해 딜이 너무 세게 나와서 이제
네.
그랜드 마스터 쪽보다는 이제 한 골드, 플래티넘, 다이아
네.
좀 이렇게 좀 입문하기 좋은 캐릭터, 게임을 시작하기 좋은 캐릭터 그게 좀 성능이 많이 좋아서
네, 네, 네.
S티어입니다.
So Summoner, they've actually been receiving a lot of buffs. This class is very easy to control. It's really good for new players to learn. But one of the things that he was saying was that the amount of damage that they can deal for how easy they are to control is a lot. And so like you're able to pull off a lot of damage really easily. So that's kind of the way summoners are right now.
또 더 설명을 드리면 이제
네.
그러니까 햇볕들 좀 이제
네네.
본인이 맞고 있어도 DPS가 나오고
네네네.
그러니까 본인이 맞고 있어도 DPS가 나오고 이제 혼자 슈퍼아머도 많고
네네네네.
에어본 같은 거 막는 이제 그리고 하드 CC 막는 레인 실드도 있고요. 하드 CC를 한번 막아주는 실드도 있고 범위가 스킬 딜링기 범위가 넓어서
네네네.
이제 좀 얻어 걸린다. 사워너의 이제 소환수
네네.
소환 몬스터
네네네네.
몬스터들 AI가
네네네.
좋아가지고
네네네네.
얘가 이제 하드 CC 기절
네네.
막 아니면 감전 이제 패럴라이즈 그런 하드 CC가 많고요.
Alright, to kind of add on to Summoner, they have solid.
데미지가
네네.
엄청 세서 데미지가 엄청 DPS가 엄청 좋아요 캐릭터가.
So yeah, again, Summoner has really good DPS. They have solid super armors. They could actually have, again, we're not going to talk too much about the mechanics of PvP. It can be confusing. There's multiple types of CCs, multiple types of super armors as well. But they actually have a skill that gives them immunity to a hard CC skill. Pets can deal damage. They do some decent damage while they have they have better uptime on DPS because their pets can deal damage while they're not. Their hitbox range / AoE range is actually really large too. So it's easier to land attacks on characters. And the pet that they have are also outside of the damage that they can deal. They actually apply CCs, like hard CCs, like stuns and things like that. Which is also another really good benefit. So for all those reasons, we've got Summoner in the S tier. Okay, 그러면 일단 Assassin Summoner in the S tier. Okay,
what the hell? Does it work? Okay. Yeah. Solo it's 1v1. That's what the word solo means. No, it's solo queue, Vanira. Hello? Solo queue. You understand that solo queue means you solo queue and then you get put into a team of 3v3. It's still a solo queue, but you're 3v3 in the game. You get what it means, right? So yeah. But yeah, strong solo queue overall. It's a PvP tier list, yeah, out there. That's why Warlord is A. That's why Warlord is A. I mean, it's fair. We went through it already, but yeah. Yeah, but a strong solo queue, strong overload receive buffs. It's really easy. It's a very easy class, right? It's a very easy class. So it's good for you to climb up until diamond. He did say up until diamond, right? Exactly. Up until diamond, where like I think like team oriented play starts to go, and basically like it's not that good anymore as a summoner. It does have like passive damage as pet. The pet is so annoying as well, which is I think like it's bullshit. The fact that like the pet can stun, the pet can knock down without you even doing anything for it. So it's like annoying to go against. I feel like Hard CC's protection shield is Raine's shield, right? I think is the name of the skill. So yeah, that's relatively nice. I don't see a lot of people use this skill though for some reason. So yeah. And the damage is really high, yeah. That's for sure, I think. Yeah, Marilyn, delete that shit. I hate Marilyn. Marilyn and Power Dude, both of them is really annoying. Really annoying. But yeah, it can output a lot of damage, assuming they allow the summoner to run around for free, right? Yeah, Summoner's Phoenix triggers you, yeah. I mean, like, if you let them run around for free, gathering, like, orbs, their identity, and then they'll just Phoenix you from, like, all around the place, then. What you should do is basically stop them from doing that in the first place. And that's why it's like harder to like it's good to climb up to diamond because people don't know how to deal with you. Going above that, I think like people already know how to deal against summoner. And the team oriented play is also like basically gonna make it like just a meh class at that point. So yeah, Phoenix have a cooldown. There is no cooldown. As long as you have the orb, you're fine. You can use it, Frost. So yeah, if you have like full orb, you can. I think like Phoenix costs like around 4 to 5 orbs, right? I think, which I think you can do it back to back twice. If I'm not mistaken, if you have like a full one. So yeah. You just need to do damage to get orbs. Exactly, yeah. So the thing that you need to do is just to do damage. Now the first thing you need to do when you go against summoner is to not let them run around for free doing damage left and right. So yeah. I don't think the innate cooldown is the issue though, Frost. But I guess it does make it like a really easy class to play at the start, at the very least. So yeah, summoners, boy summoners. But I don't know. Going against summoners, I don't really have any issue aside from the pets, because the pets is really annoying. It's not an issue overall. It's just like annoying to deal with the pet because you get like stun left and right.
Really good benefit. So for all those reasons, we've got 쪽으로 갈까요? Reaper.
리퍼 대장전.
Yeah, because I'm not melee Frost.
대장전 뭔지 알아요? 거기서는 1S거든요.
네네네네.
여기 내 3 vs 3에서는 저는 C 주겠습니다.
C.
네.
Okay. So he's got Reaper in the. Okay. So if we're doing.
Okay, one sec here. Combo summon, melee summon. Yep, that's basically lower pet HP wouldn't do anything, Andros, because you don't want to waste your skill on a pet, right? You don't really normally target the pet anyway, unless you just cleave it by mistake. You never really target the pet on purpose, unless you have no other target. So lower pet HP means nothing, because in the end, like, it's still gonna be running around up there while you're trying to kill the players, and this pet like moves next to you and slaps you in the face. That's basically what it is, right? So lowering the pet wouldn't do anything. I mean, it's fine, and in the higher ranks, it doesn't really have that much presence. Like Scout's drone has much more presence than like a summoner's pet in like a higher rank. But yeah. Alright, moving on.
1v1s or last team standing mode, Reaper's S tier. Okay, so I'm actually glad that he's mentioned this. So on a 1v1 scale, we're talking S tier, but when we're talking about group PvP, he has it in the C tier. 그거
HP는
네네.
그러니까 방어력은 똑같은데
네네네.
바드랑 비슷해요. 근데 패치 받았대요.
okay. So there was okay. So we need 네네 말씀해주세요. 그 바드하고 비슷한 거예요?
네, 바드랑 비슷해요. 이제 밀리 캐릭인데 바드랑 비슷하다.
So the HP and defense is on par with a bard.
원래 그 얘가 이제 에어본 아니면 그 경직 그게 엄청 좋았거든요. 캐릭터 판정이 좋았는데
네네네.
이제 좀 많이 너프돼가지고
아.
이제 데미지가 원래 막 센 캐릭이 좀 DPS가 좀 낮아요. 캐릭터가 DPS가 낮은데 이제 원래 S급이었다가 너프를 좀 많이 맞아가지고.
네. Before they were nerfed, right? So they were nerfed and they had really good staggers. But that's been nerfed and their DPS for a DPS class is on the low end. They were S tier, but due to all these nerfs, they've come down to what he thinks is a C tier. Okay, Blade.
Okay. Well, we can ignore the S tier for 1v1. That's for sure, right? I think like 1v1 is rock, paper, scissors anyway. We can ignore that part. I guess people that like enthusiastic about like 1v1 stuff. I know a lot of people that like us around that one. Then yeah, here is your class maybe. Yeah, Blade is next. Not as strong in group PvP. I mean, yeah, I can agree with that. But I mean like I feel like it's not. I don't think it's down to C tier. I just feel like low HP and defense base similar to Bard in stats, but it's melee. Bard has a lower stat by itself, like base stat. Reaper is like 2.0 health coefficient, while 0.8 armor, and I think Bard is like 1.9 with 0.65 armor. But if you count the skill, then Bard is even tankier than Reaper. If you count the skill itself, so yeah, it's C after the stagger nerf. I feel like even with the stagger nerf, I feel like by itself, Reaper's mobility, like and everything, still makes it like good enough. I feel like. So yeah, it was S tier, but it was nerf. I mean, like, just like any other new classes, right? They get nerf, obviously. So yeah, used to have a good CC as well. You don't make reason besides dagger and the dive. I see. He's saying C tier, trying to ask for a buff. Trying to ask for a buff. I don't know. I still feel like it should be like A or B, because I think like a good player can still utilize its mobility to basically like dash around left and right and to initiate as well. But I guess at the same time, when you go into like the higher ranks, like Reaper doesn't work that well again with like team synergy wise, right? I think maybe it's not that strong as well. So maybe like it is probably like maybe like B. Like I would put it at B maybe, I guess, looking at the higher tier. No, but at the same time there is also the skill ceiling. Reaper still has like the skill floor, lowest skill floor, and also the one of the highest skill ceiling. Because like a really good Reaper is really good, but a really bad Reaper is basically dead weight. You're basically 2v3 if you have a bad Reaper on your team. So yeah, it's hard to it's hard to, because like the spectrum is like, the gap between the spectrum is really high. Basically, you don't really find like average Reaper as well. Average Reaper can be considered bad Reaper basically at this point, because like average Reaper basically will die so fast anyway. You don't want an average one. So I guess the majority will be like on the C tier, I guess, while the good one will be on A tier. So it's leaning towards C, I guess. So yeah, buff Reaper when Reaper's already like was really strong before. It was already nerfed, and it nerfs down here apparently. So yeah, it gets nerfed, but the skill like the skill floor and the skill ceiling doesn't change, which makes it like difficult. So yeah, nerfs so hard. Frost reroll from Reaper. Yeah, he reroll from Reaper right away. Alright, Reaper.
Let's talk about Blade.
블레이드는 A입니다. A.
Blade A.
AS,
Blade A tier.
무빙 스피드,
네.
어택 스피드 둘
In
다
PvP, by the way.
파티적으로
네네.
파티적으로 이제 주는 시너지가 있어요.
아.
네, 그게 일단은 모든 캐릭터 버프 중에 그게 제일 높아요.
Wait, it has the highest attack speed and move speed
그래서
buff.
한
Oh,
번 턴에
you mean Dark Order? Okay,
자기
okay.
턴을
I thought
엄청
like
세게 쓸
its
수
base
있어요.
is high. Never mind.
네네네.
팀적으로 턴을 엄청 세게 쓸 수 있고
네네네.
이제 DPS도 좋은 편이고
네네네.
DPS
Blade bad in PvE?
그 슈퍼 아머.
Not
슈퍼
really,
아머도
no,
많은
not really.
편이어서 에어본 다운 그 슈퍼 아머.
네네.
네, 그 슈퍼 아머도 많은 편이고 이제 에어본 앤 하드 CC.
네네.
그 딜레이 그 CC기에 딜레이가 그 스킬들 딜레이가 좀 많이 적어가지고
네네.
그 좀 빠른
네.
네, 이제 상대가 좀
Yeah,
피하기
PvP
힘든
Tierlist 성님.
상대가 좀 피하기 힘든 그런 스킬 구성이 좀 있고요.
네.
이제 밀리 캐릭터들이 있잖아요.
네네.
이제 밀리 캐릭터들의 좀 카운터 느낌이죠. 이제 레인지들한테 그렇게 막 엄청 센 모습은 거의 없는데 이제 레인지들한테 뭐 엄청 그렇게 약하지도 않고.
네네네.
근데 그래서 A.
Okay, 알겠습니다. So, as far as team synergy goes, blades have attack speed and moving speed buffs that they can give to teammates, some of the best in the game. They do good DPS as a DPS class. They have good super armor, so protection to CCs. Good airborne and hard CC skills, and those skills that they have, when they apply those skills, they're quicker than some of these other classes. They're applied immediately compared to these other classes, which is really good. It's a lot more difficult to avoid those CCs if you're on the other end of it. You can kind of see them as a counter to melee classes, but they're not really a counter to range classes. But they're not really countered by range classes either. But they don't counter range classes, if that makes sense. Okay.
Okay, so Blade it is then. Blade in PvP. Hi. But only base classes overall in PvE and PvP? Generally, yeah. You can say it like that, yeah. So no real bad matchup as a Blade, yeah. Think of it as like Jack of all trades, man. Think of it like that, basically. So it has so the buff like Dark Order, right? It is a really short buff though. 6 seconds with the highest attack speed and move speed buff. The thing about speed though, in PvP speed changes everything, and that's why you have like agility as like your primary. Speed changes everything basically. So it is like a really good buff. So yeah, lots of super armor to CC. Yep, most of its attacks actually has CC, which is has like super armor, which is like annoying. Because like you cannot trade hits against like a blade. You'll just lose. You'll just get CC'd the first time, and then you'll just get comboed after that. So yeah, fast landing attack and CC that are difficult to dodge. Was the name Quick Knock Frost? I forgot what's the name of it. But basically it's like an instant like stun. Like as long as you get hit for it, then you get comboed right there. Rip. So yeah. So yeah. Counters melee classes. Melee because they can trade as well. Basically, they can trade hits. So yeah, but not that weak to range because it has like enough super armor. Range normally doesn't have a lot of like hard CC, so you can just like immunity it to reach the range. Then you put the range on melee, and usually like it's hard to deal against a blade if you're range as well. Scout cunning trick. Oh, I see. Okay, the hit bash move. Yeah, it's basically instant move. Right? Except Scout broken. Well, we'll get to Scout later, Steve. We'll get to Scout later. So yeah, what's the point of 1v1 tier list? It's all about 3v3. 1v1 it doesn't really matter, yeah, because 1v1 is rock paper scissors. So it doesn't really matter tier list wise on that one. Having the super class in the game doesn't have DPS tank healer format. It's actually broken. My drone doesn't do its skill. Yeah, the drone bug is a big thing. I don't know if he will like he'll like go around over that one. So yeah, we'll check it, I guess.
But they don't counter range classes, if that makes sense.
Oh, actually, let me be right back. I'm gonna go restroom a little bit. Be right back, boys. Be right back. Alright, I'm back. Is there a point finishing main storyline once you hit level 50? It gives you materials to upgrade your stuff. So there is a point to do it, but it's not required right away. You can delay it if you want to.
Okay, 좋아요. Demonic.
데모닉은
Demonic
A,
slash
A로
Shadow
갈게요.
Hunter.
A로 갈까요? 네,
네.
알겠습니다.
이게 얘도 아르카나랑 비슷한 포지션이에요.
네.
솔로 랭크에서
Oh,
엄청
it's
좋아요.
like Arcana.
네네.
이제
네.
솔로 랭크에서 엄청 좋고 이제 원거리 그러니까 레인지인데
네.
그 밀리랑 이제 레인지 캐릭터가 이제 빠른 기동성이 있어요. 그러니까
네네.
이동기가 많고
네.
그 이제 좀 포지션을 좀 자유자재로 잡을 수 있어요. 이렇게 되게. 그리고
네네네.
이제 CC기 팀원 백업도 좋고 그 레인지 클래스 중에서도 이제 이동기
네네네.
이동하는
이동하는 네.
네 그 레인지 클래스 사이에서도 기동성이 좋다. 이 무브먼트가 좀 자유롭다. 팀 백업도 엄청 좋고요. 이제
네.
밀리 캐릭터가 이제 레인지를 물면 보통 밀리 캐릭터가 유리하잖아요.
네네네.
근데 이제 얘는 이제 레인지 중에서도 이제 밀리한테 1대1이 안 끌리는 안
아.
뚫리는 이제 그런 좀 이제 혼자 혼자 살기 좋고 혼자 딜하기 좋고
네네네네.
팀원도 살려서 그래서 좋은 픽이라고
Thanks for the raid, Andy. 25 people. Welcome, welcome.
하고
29, sorry.
있습니다, 저는. 내려갈 수밖에 없는 것 같은 게
네네.
이게 팀적인 시너지
네네.
시너지 스킬이 딱히 없고
네네.
그다음에 이제 본인 만약에 한번
Was it?
물리고 막 이런 게 막 본인이 맞을 때
네네.
복구 능력이 없어서 이제 버티기 한 번에 막 다 물러오면 막 버티기가 힘들고
네네네.
이제 데모닉의 위치가 노출이 되면 그게 데모닉이 이제 좀 그러니까 이제 솔로 랭크에서는 이제 한 명은 알아도 이제 나머지 두 명의 팀원은 모르는 위치에 있을 수 있잖아요.
네네네네.
데모닉은 이제 팀 게임으로 가면 이제
네네네.
위치가 계속 노출되면 안 좋은 캐릭터라서
네네네.
위치 브리핑이 계속 되고 이제 그러면 이제 좀 힘을 못 쓰는.
Similar to Arcana, really strong in solo ranked. Excuse me, really strong in solo ranked, and it's actually a range class. So as a range class, it has good mobility. For a range class, it has good mobility, and they're really good at backing up teammates. They can also put up really good fights against melee classes overall, but they fall off a little bit in organized. And again, I know this is 3v3 solo queue because it's the only rated one we have. But if we are talking about organized PvP, team PvP, if they ever did have like group PvP that was able to be queued as a group that was rated, they do fall off a little bit because they don't have as many team synergy skills. There was a short break during this segment, and I forgot to add in another important detail that Typhoon shared, but demonics are not only a very punishing class when caught, but they're also a very position-sensitive character. A big part of success in Lost Ark PvP is to know the positions of all players. You'll always have situations where you can't see your teammates and opponents from your field of vision, and in solo queue, you can't communicate that very effectively. We're not going to get into the Grandmaster mechanics, but at the higher levels, positioning for field of vision and opponent blind spots are a huge part of the game. Demonics do not perform very well when they're constantly exposed in the field of vision of their opponents. Okay.
Alright. Well, I know the Grandmaster mechanic. Grandmaster mechanic, what do you mean? Machine, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. Yeah, contrary to popular belief, Demonic is actually a range class in PvP. You can call it a range, I guess. It has some melee attacks, but most of it is actually like a really good poke or really good initiate from range. So it's something to do with vision and positions. It's because like when you start in the arena, Frost, you have like a different field of vision compared to the enemy. So something that you can see, enemy sometimes cannot see, or the other way around, right? So yeah. But on the lower side of the screen has a skill bar hides them. No, that's not the only thing. The field of vision is different based on like your team as well. Cause some have like a horizontal, while the others have like a vertical view. If that makes sense, the camera view basically. So yeah, that's like another thing. But yeah, that's demonic right there. Good damage solo. It's really good. I think like it has a really good poke, right, as a range class. A really good poke, really good CC to initiate. Then you can just you have a good positioning, good mobility skill to basically go in, use your melee combo that does like a good damage, go out as well. And he didn't mention anything about the transformation, right? Because I think like the main purpose of this is basically to like start generating your gauge. Then you can transform, and when you transform, you're basically a melee class with a permanent stagger super armor that does so much damage and a lot of CC as well. So yeah, they didn't mention the transformation on this one. So yeah, then likes to play and calculated to go in with identity when it's up. Slow play. You don't have to go in only with identity. No, as long as you initiate properly from range with your demon vision, paralyzed enemy, you go in, use your what's the name, genocide into like impact thrust, and that does already a lot of damage right there. So yeah, it's a lot of things that you can do, but mainly it's a range class, you know. And then like he has a good peel because it's a range class still, right? You can stagger enemies or like hard CC enemies from far away to help peel for teammates. But yeah, but the transformation, when you do transform into demon form, you do basically just kill everyone at that point. So yeah, not much team synergy. Punishing when caught. Generally, it's like all range classes basically. Whenever you're exposed or when you get caught, range classes basically gets wrecked really fast. So yeah, it's I think it applies to like a lot of other classes as well.
Perform very well when they're constantly exposed in the field of vision of their opponents. Okay, so all right, that does it for the
Blaster.
assassin classes. Let's go to Blaster. Blaster는요? 네.
그래서 B로 가겠습니다.
Blaster B. Okay.
That's a big if right there.
Blaster.
That's a big if.
DPS가 모든 캐릭 중에 제일 좋아요. 그러니까 그 이론상 그러니까
네.
DPS가 다 맞아준다고 하면 엄청 좋아요.
네네네.
상대가 다 맞아주면 좋은데 이제 밀리 캐릭터한테 이제 근접 그 근거리 밀리 캐릭터한테는 강한 모습을 보여주거든요.
네네.
이제 얘가 레인지인데 거의 밀리라 보시면 돼요. 얘는 레인지인데 좀 다른 느낌이에요. 서머너랑 비슷하게 이제 좀 상대가 들어오는 걸 기다려야 되고 먼저 공격하긴 안 좋은. 공격을 카운터 치는 건 좋은데 먼저 공격은 힘들어요.
네.
그래서 레인지 캐릭들 있죠, 원거리에서 블래스터의 사정거리 밖에서 블래스터를 괴롭히는 레인지 캐릭터한테 엄청 약해요. 얘도 디스토리어랑 비슷한 느낌인데
네네.
얘는 이제 블래스터보다 사거리 좋은 원딜들한테 약고 원거리 레인지들한테 약하고 이제 밀리들한테는 좋아서 얘도 이제 조합 상성, 그러니까 상대가 어떤 캐릭터가 있냐 이거를 많이 영향을 받아요. 그래서 솔로 랭크에서는 별로 이제 대신에 팀 게임으로 가면 이제 바드랑 서포터와 이제 시너지가 엄청 좋아져서 좀 이제 B보단 티어가 훨씬 올라간다.
Okay, so blasters, if you're landing on your hits, really high damage, really high DPS, and they're actually pretty strong against melee classes. Kind of similar to a destroyer in the sense that they're strong against melee, but you're actually not the best against range classes as a range class. The blaster is actually a class that needs to be played defensively. Really good class to play defensively. Not the best class to be an initiator. So on top of that fact, they have really good synergy with like Bard. But again, if we're talking about in a solo queue environment where we're not expecting synergy and it's a solo queue climb, then they fall off a bit in the solo queue ranks. So that's why we have the blaster at a B tier. If we were talking strictly team PvP, organized PvP, then they would be bumped up on the tier list for sure. Okay, so next we're going to talk about Devil. That's why we.
All right, blaster. Putting this on YouTube commentary. I can, I guess. I can just like cut it and put it on YouTube if like need be. So yeah, highest DPS if all attacks land. Yeah, it's a big if. It's a really big if actually, because like it's actually in higher ranks it's pretty difficult to do that. This 4 points right here, strong versus melee, but it's range but similar to melee. Weak versus range, strong versus melee. Oh, that's written twice. Advantage when initiating. This is all because of like the lack of mobility that it has basically. It just cannot reach, right? It can't reach like people that are like running around, so it's hard to initiate as a blaster. But if they initiate on you, or if they're a melee class, then they have to get closer to you, and you have like enough super armor. You can have like knockdown super armor with your shield, so you can bait enemies through it. You have like a stagger super armor with your Gatling gun, which basically is gonna stagger the enemy, then gives you a free initiate from that, free counter basically. So yeah, it's mainly because of like the kit of like blaster itself is not like that. So yeah, very comp sensitive, greatly with support classes, higher than B in the right com. I feel like even with you're in the right com, I think I will still put it on B, because like who's to say the enemy doesn't have the right com as well, right? So I feel like it's still B. It's just very situational. I feel like it's strong only on like specific parts basically, specific com, specific situation. So yeah, and I mean like when you're going into the high ranks, people know basically like how blaster plays, so you can like work over it basically instead of like playing into like blaster's field. So I just feel like B is B. I don't think it will be higher than B. I would keep it at B basically, even with the right comp, in my opinion still. But yeah, I mean like the rest of it I can agree with it. Blaster. Oh, and also actually it's actually pretty strong in the lower rank because of the same reason with summoner. People don't know how to deal with it, so they just run into blasters basically AoE, and then like they just die because of that. So I guess in the lower rank, blaster is like maybe higher, probably maybe just like summoner, I guess.
We have the blaster at a B tier. If we were talking strictly team PvP, organized PvP, then they would be bumped up on the tier list for sure. Okay, so next we're gonna talk about Devil Hunter. Let's talk about Devil Hunter. 데빌 헌터는 어때요?
데빌 헌터는 일단 A급입니다. A급이고
A?
예.
네네네네.
데빌 헌터는 이제 처음에는 이제 좀 플레이 컨트롤이 좀 어려워요. 컨트롤이
네.
좀 어려. 스킬을 좀 여러 개
Yeah,
쓰고
Frost's
이제
class.
그게 손이 좀 꼬일 수
I really enjoy
있는데
PvP in
Yeah.
Devil Hunter as well.
컨트롤이 좀 어렵지만 이제 좀 레인지인데 기동성이 좋고
네네.
이제 슈퍼 아머
네네.
그 에어본 슈퍼 아머가 좀 많아요.
네네네.
얘는 이제 딜 DPS가 좀 세요.
네네네.
DPS가 좀 세고 이제 밀리 캐릭터랑 얘는 이제 건슬링어랑 무슨 차이냐면
네네.
밀리 캐릭터보다 밀리 캐릭터한테 좀 더 세요. 건슬링어는 이제 밀리 캐릭터한테 좀 약하고 레인지 캐릭터한테 좀 센데 이제 데빌헌터는 반대. 밀리 캐릭터한테 센데 레인지 캐릭터한테 살짝 그 레인지 캐릭터를 1대1로만 보면 약하진 않은데
네네.
팀 게임에서 이제 데빌헌터는 레인지인데 그러니까 DPS를 뽑으려면 DPS D를 넣으려면 이제 좀 밀리 정도의 이제 거리에서 좀 공격을 해야 된다. 이런 단점이 있죠. 파티 시너지는 없지만 이제 솔로 큐에서 혼자 살고 혼자 딜하기 좋고.
Okay, all right. So, Devil Hunter is difficult to control. Outside of that fact, they have good super armors, high DPS. They're a little bit different to gunslingers in the sense that Devil Hunters are stronger against melee, weaker to range. Gunslingers are stronger to range, weaker to melee. In a group PvP environment, Devil Hunters need to kind of be in closer range, almost like melee range, to really get their damage off. And because in group that's what needs to happen. So for that reason, in group PvP, they fall off a little bit. In solo queue, they're pretty strong though, because overall, you don't have to be reliant on other teammates to get your damage off. You can kind of just be a solo hero and get your damage off. And for that reason, for all those reasons, we've got the Devil Hunter in an A tier.
A tier Devil Hunter, boys. A tier Devil Hunter. Yep, has always been really strong, really competitive in PvP as well. So yeah, difficult to control at first is just basically like it's a muscle memory, right? Developing that muscle memory to actually play it like smoothly, mainly. So yeah, a lot of super armor to CC. Typhoon did say it's not just CC. You have like a lot of like airborne super armor as well, the one that knocks you up. So that makes it like really good as well, because you can trade hits. You can trade hits to a certain point because Devil Hunter is still like relatively squishy with 2.1 health and 0.8 armor coefficient. I feel like, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, still a relatively squishy one, but you can still trade hits. Strong versus melee, weaker versus range in group PvP, similar to Gunslinger except reverse. I think it's just because like Gunslinger has a better sniper kit compared to Devil Hunter, while Devil Hunter has a better shotgun kit. So I think that's just because of like the difference of the skill set that they have. So yeah, I don't think it's weak to range at all, to be honest. I feel like the mobility it has for Devil Hunter just make them able to like close the gap anyway, to not basically go against range, make them go against melee basically. So yeah, must go melee to deal full damage, no team synergy skill, strong alone and not reliant on team. So yeah, I guess it's a pretty good solo queue, right? Because it's strong alone. But I feel like that's not always like the case. Cause like sometimes when you go against like a good team, they can peel you when you're doing your combo as well. They can peel you from their team. So yeah, not reliant on team, not necessarily, but I think like you can get like interrupted pretty easily by like a good team. Yeah, it's not really weak to range 1v1. But I mean like my point is that like you can, with the mobility the Devil Hunter has, you don't really go against any range. You make the range of like range enemies become a melee because how fast you can close the gap basically. So yeah, it's not really weak to range 1v1 because I feel like you can force the enemy to play on your field basically with the mobility for Devil Hunter. And I think like same would apply for Gunslinger as well. Except Gunslinger has a better range kit. Well, we're moving to Gunslinger after this.
오케이. 그리고 건슬링어
건슬링어도 A tier.
A tier. Alright, let's book
에베런터랑
it.
좀 비슷한데
네네.
이제 좀 아까 설명드렸듯이
네네.
이제
그냥 반대로.
네 그냥
네네.
반대로 둘이 좀 비슷해요. 스킬셋이 비슷해서.
So Gunslinger, we're looking at the same thing as Devil Hunter, only just the opposite in terms of what we just talked about, where Gunslingers are weaker to melee, stronger to ranged, versus Devil Hunter being the opposite of that. Everything else is pretty much the same. They have to be pretty close range to get all their damage off, and they can rely on themselves rather than teammates to get their damage off. So we've got Gunslinger pretty comparable to Devil Hunter in the A tier. And let's go to Hawkeye. Hawkeye는 어때요?
Okay, so Gunslinger, same Devil Hunter, weaker to melee, stronger to range, as like what he has mentioned before. Gunslinger and DH is same tier at this point, I think, Reigns. I agree with this. Both of them should be A tier at the same point. You guys that are in Russia right now, at this point of time, you got a pre-nerf Gunslinger, which I think would make Gunslinger on S tier. But the problem is right now it's already nerfed, right? So I think like Gunslinger is like relatively similar to Devil Hunter in this case. So yeah, it just has like a better sniper kit, which makes it stronger on like range, especially when not interrupted. So better in team comp as well. But it's not that good against melee, like the usual basically. But you can still play melee on melee range relatively well, because your shotgun is still doing respectable damage anyway. So yeah, but I still think it's A tier. I don't think it's S tier anymore. Pre-nerf, I would say it's like S tier. So yeah. Yeah, but weaker on melee mainly. So it's not really that much weaker than like Devil Hunter though. So yeah. Like if I want to put them, I think like Gunslinger has slight edge over Devil Hunter just because the sniper skill is better. That's mainly it, I think. Cause like I don't think Gunslinger is that much weaker in melee compared to like a Devil Hunter. But yeah, Russia frogs when they play on EU and pick Gunslinger. Well, I think like Russia will get the nerf pretty soon for Gunslinger. But in the meantime, Gunslinger right now is probably S tier in Russia, not in Korea though.
Rather than teammates comparable to Devil Hunter in the A tier. And let's
better space bar too. Oh yeah, I guess so. Better space bar. I think it's because like you can chain them or change direction. But I think like that space bar is not that big of a deal, I think, for us. So, yeah. As DH, you still put most of your points in rifle anyway, not like you're using your shotgun except for Last Supper and maybe Barrage. Yeah, but what's different, Reigns, is that like you have your handgun skill like Execute, something that like a Gunslinger does not have. You can use an Execute for a free knock-up, right, after a stagger. For Gunslinger, you mainly have your freeze grenade. So yeah, you can delay that space. Yeah, I guess so. You can delay it, but I don't think that's like a big deal. Yeah, it's point few seconds, right? So yeah, almost a double dash. So I guess so. I guess it has the space bar is like slightly better than Devil Hunter. I don't feel like that's a big deal though, because space bar is basically your jail-free card. You don't really use it that much, except for like escaping stuff, right? So I feel like yeah, that point few seconds of CC immunity, I don't think it like moves it like that much higher over Devil Hunter. So yeah.
go to Hawkeye. Hawkeye는 어때요?
Hawkeye, let's go.
호카이 A 줄게요.
A 줄까요? Okay. Another A rank. Very consistent. Okay, 네.
A tier.
호카이는
Yeah, I mean like speaking of which, like most of these classes are on A tier, right? Which means like it just have a decent balance already, even on PvP. So
얘들 이제 버프 먹고
네네.
DPS가 엄청 세졌어요.
네.
그러니까 이제 좀 원거리, 그러니까 상대가 안 보이는 데서
네네.
상대가 보지 못하는 곳에서 DPS가 엄청 잘 나오고 솔로 랭크에서 좋은 은신이 솔로 랭크 한 이제 그랜드 마스터까지는 좀 별론데 한
네네.
다이아 정도 이제 솔로 랭크에서는 엄청 잘 먹히고 인비저블
네네.
예, 그 스킬이 엄청 그 다이아 정도까지는 그래도 잘 먹히고 슈퍼 아머 또 이제 옛날에 비해 좀 많이 생겨가지고
네.
그 넓은 CC기도 넓은 그 페어라이트
네네네네.
넓은 CC기도 좋고 이제
네네네.
좀 이제 상대가 안 보인 데서 이제 솔로
네네.
혼자 얘도 이제 팀 게임보다는 이제 혼자서 뭔가 DPS 뽑고 혼자 생존하고 이게 좋아서 A 정도.
네, 알겠습니다. So Hawkeyes, they actually got buffs, and now their DPS is really high. They're dealing out really good damage. They can hit people with high damage from like blind spots too. So that brings their that brings them up a bit as well. When it comes to solo queuing, though, they have a skill that gives them stealth, invisible skill. And up until Diamond, that skill can be utilized really well. It works really well. Not so much in the higher ranks, though. They were given more super armors recently and have good paralyzed CCs. And they, again, just like the other two classes we just talked about, they don't have to rely on other people to set up damage. They can just dish out damage on their own. So for those reasons, we have the Hawkeye in the A tier. 네.
Oh, Scouter snack. Alright. Yeah. So on PvP, just disclaimer in PvP, I main Hawkeye, and I guess I don't know. You guys can call me biased for that, but yeah. After the buff, yeah, I feel like in NAEU they should have like more. They should have this buff as well. Snipe, which is like one of the off-screen, long-range, like a hardest hitting skill that like a Hawkeye has, can basically like kill like someone from half health straight to zero if it crits. If it crits, by the way. And usually in PvP, right, in the last minute of the match, you get 25% critical buff, including the tripod that it has. It has like a 50-50 chance of critting at that point. So yeah, Snipe is gonna be like basically like can one-shot you if you're like half health from across the arena. So yeah, so that part is really strong. Not surprisingly, GM rank and very strong until Diamond. I can agree with that like 100% because I always think that like Hawkeye doesn't work that well in the higher rank because like stealth is good, yeah, except if your enemy has good awareness. When they're aware of like you're going against like a Hawkeye, then you should expect that like he's gonna go stealth left and right. So you should at least have awareness of where Hawkeye is. Then you can counter it easily because a single hit, a Hawkeye stop his toe, his stealth is gone at that point. And then he has to wait for like the next cooldown for the stealth. So yeah, he has a good CC though. It's a cone CC with a paralyzed, right? A hard CC, so it can hit multiple people, which is really nice as well. A good amount of super armor. These are mainly the stagger super armor though, so I feel like it's pretty good, but it's not that impactful, I think. So yeah, and it's solo playstyle, so I guess it's another solo queue, a good solo queue class. I would still rate it at B rather than A. Even though I'm a Hawkeye main, I think it's B because like I feel like strong until Diamond and then weak above is like pretty like a big spectrum, I guess. So I don't really like. I would put it at B still rather than A. So yeah, sup Yaks. Drone best PvP class, yeah, drone. 20% crit buff in the last minute. Wow. That applies to everyone, Talavis though. That applies to everyone. Whenever like in the last minute of the 3v3 match, right, you get a buff basically. Everyone gets a 25% critical buff. You also respawn instantly. So it makes like the last 1 minute of the match, basically anything can happen at that point. Because like if let's say Hawkeye crits, right, for you from half health straight to zero, boom, already dead, right? Something like that basically. It happens on every match basically. It's a standard like match format. In the last minute you get like a crit buff. So yeah. Alright.
On their
And now
own.
we're moving on to Scout.
So for those reasons, we have the Hawkeye in the A tier. 네, 좋아요. 그럼 스카우터는요? talk about that scouter.
S급이요.
S tier. 그럴 것 같았어요. 그럴 것 같았어요. 왜요?
And we know this is coming anyway.
스카우터는
Scouter in the S tier.
DPS가 너무 높진 않은데
네네네.
좋아요. 그러니까 높은 DPS가 9 정도. 그레이트까지는 아니고 9 정도고. 그다음에 이제 이동성. 이동기가 좀 많고요. 셀프 실드도 많고
네.
스킬들이 거의 다 즉발이에요. 원거리인데
네네네.
스킬들이 원거리인데 이제 즉발가 바로 빠르게 나간다. 빠르게
네네.
나가서 이제 상대가 좀 피하기 힘들고 근데 이게 피하기 힘든데 원거리기까지 해가지고
Okay. So when we're talking about Scout, okay, their DPS is just good, not amazing. It's good. They have good mobility. They have self shields. They have shields that they can give themselves. And another big one is that their attacks, not only are they ranged, but their CCs are instant. They are applied immediately, which again in this game is really significant. So they can apply their CCs at range in an instant. So for those reasons, we have Scout in the S tier.
쿨타임도 짧고 그게 그 좋은 시치기 그 좋은 성능의
네네네.
시치기를 두 개나 가지고 있기도 하고요.
네네네.
잘 물리지도 않고.
네.
그러니까 이제 밀리 캐릭터가 좀 이제
네.
밀리 캐릭터한테 약한 건 맞는데
네네네.
그래도 밀리 캐릭터가 좀 이제 밀리 캐릭터들 중에서도 이제 빠른 밀리 캐릭터 있잖아요. 속도가
네네네네.
이동기가 많은 밀리 캐릭터한테 약한데 좀 이제 느린 밀리 캐릭터한테 엄청 강하고 상대 조합을 많이 그 상대 캐릭터 상성 있죠. 이제 상대 캐릭터가 어떻든 이제 좀 영향을 좀 덜 받고 홀리나이트, 바드 이런 캐릭터들 S급 서포터들한테도 강한 모습 보여주고요. 이제 S급 캐릭터들한테도 강한 모습 보여줘요.
All right, so to kind of elaborate that a little bit more, they have good CC types because obviously we talked about that in this game there are different types of CC. The types of CCs that they have two really good ones, hard CCs. Short cooldowns. They have short cooldowns on top of that. They are technically weak to melee, but to kind of elaborate on that, they're really strong against slower melee. Their weakness would be against super fast melee classes. So the quicker, faster melee classes they're weak against. However, another big thing that puts them in the S tier is that they're strong against the S tier classes. So Holy Knight, Bard, Summoner that we have here, they're strong against those types of classes as well. So Scouter, really good class. We actually see Scouter a lot in the rankings in KR. All right, so now let's go to...
Yeah, just disclaimer, dude. I don't really main Scout in PvP, by the way. I don't main Scout in PvP. I actually don't really like the playstyle of Scout in PvP. I main it in PvE, but not in PvP. In PvP, I main Hawkeye. So yeah. So I don't, but I mean like this is true, right? I mean like the damage is not good, right? It has a good mobility, good protection from self shield. It's countered by a really fast melee, yeah. Except you're also fast. So this like lowers, this narrows down like the classes that actually counters it. So you know there is only a few classes that can actually like hard counter it, and even when you hard counter it, it's not easily that shut down as well, right? Because of like how mobile it was, and it has a self shield as well. So you could waste your skill on the shield instead. So yeah, skills range, land very quickly. Yep, they're basically instant at this point, I feel like. And I think like it has a low cooldown, yeah. Two very good hard CC skill, one of them from yourself, the stun gun, which is really fast as well. Basically like if you get staggered, you're guaranteed to get like a hard CC over there. Another one is from drone, which comes from like microwing as well. So you can get hard CC from anywhere else where you cannot even target the drone because the drone is untargetable. So yeah. It's I don't know. I think like it's a really strong class. The problem with like how strong this class is the kit is really strong. Mainly the drone, right? The drone pressure play, being like chased by like a drone, is really like you can't do anything when you're chased by a drone. Basically, there is nothing you can do, and you don't know what the drone's gonna do to you as well. They can just like scare you, and then you run away, or they can like come in and then like do hard CC, and then you suddenly get like energy buster from across the map. So it's really hard to counter that one as well. So like people using spacebar when drone hovers over them. Yeah, exactly. You just scare them, right? You scare them and then they use their spacebar. Now they don't have a spacebar. You have a 10-second window where this guy can basically just get killed really easily, just because your drone like runs around. So yeah. So yeah, it's not even like it's not really even easy to shut down. And for a class that even counters it, it doesn't really counter it that much. Like it doesn't like put Scout down basically. So yeah, psychological warfare. Yeah, you can call it that. The drone is basically psychological warfare. I think like the drone is basically the strongest part of the class itself. There is also the Iron Man form, right? The identity. You can get like probably 2 to 3 Iron Man. 3 if you're really good at landing your skill. But like 2 Iron Man is good enough. It's not really that. I don't think Iron Man is that great. It has a good stagger super armor, but your shield value is really low, right? The thing about like what people don't understand is that when you go into Iron Man, if your shield got depleted, right, your Iron Man gets taken off. So the way you counter it is just basically whenever it goes Iron Man, just do like a combo on it, and then like it will remove the Iron Man. It doesn't change the fact that like Scout is really strong on the Scout form though, not even in the Iron Man form. So you kind of just wasted like, you know, some skill just to put the Scout out of Iron Man. So yeah, I think its kit is just like really good. It's hard to nerf this because the what makes it strong is like its basic kit. So unless you dismantle the kit, it's gonna stay strong. So yeah, Shukur, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Make drone targetable. GG sounds OP to me. It's hard to make it targetable. That means you can destroy it, right? And then what's gonna happen if that is the case, right? So yeah, can't move the drone in PvP. Well, that would make it like I don't think that would be that much of an. It will put like Scout down though for sure, because like you can't like have the drone as a pressure play from the drone anymore. So maybe, but I don't know if it's gonna make it like. But its identity is basically the micro, Steve. That means you cannot micro, right? You cannot micro if you cannot move the drone anymore. Batches, thank you for the follow. Welcome. So we can move in 3 times every 30 seconds or something. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the way to do it anyway still. But yeah. But yeah, it's just the basic kit is really strong for Scout. And that's why it's like really hard to deal with against as well. Oh, speaking of which, it also has a really high skill ceiling, by the way. When you take a Scout and you cannot micro it properly, you're gonna be like pretty down below as well. Because Scout is still one of the squishiest class in the game. 2.0 health coefficient, 0.8 armor coefficient, which means that like if you get caught without shield or mobility skill, you're relatively dead at that point. So yeah, reduce the range of the drone. It already happened, Tangerine. The drone range reduced was already nerfed. Didn't really change that much though. So yeah, close bid in August, no one knows. So yeah, stay in the fire with Scout.
The fighters, shall we? Let's start with Battlemaster. Battlemaster는 어디 둘까요?
대마는 B, 배틀마스터는
네.
Battlemaster
대마?
B.
B?
예, 이게 미들 B와 C의 중간인데요. 개인적으로는.
Okay. Between
네,
B and
근데-
C, so it's more like here.
네.
네.
Oh,
일단 D는 없어요.
Interesting.
D는 이제 D 정도까지는 안 가는 것 같고 D는
네네.
그냥 이 게임에서 D는 없다고 치고
네네네. No really D tier classes, he's saying. 네. Battlemaster는 왜 B일까요?
배틀마스터가
Why is it on
네네네.
B?
이제 너프를 좀 많이 먹고 네 원래는 S였는데
오, 네네.
너프를 먹고 내려왔어요. 개인 데미지 감소,
네.
개인 데미지 감소와 그 체력 방어력 개수가 기본적으로 높고 개인 데미지 감소까지 있어서 내가 앞에서 좀 이제 스킬을 좀 많이 맞아도 별로 안 아프게 맞고
네네네네.
네 그런 거랑 이제 파티 데미지 감소가 있어요.
네네.
얘는 다른 캐릭터보다 높진 않은데
네네.
파티 데미지 감소가 있어서 그 공이속과 데미지 감소가 같이 붙어 있는 그게 뭐지? 시너지가 있어가지고
네네네.
팀 게임에서 막 엄청 나쁘다 볼 수 없고요. 다른 캐릭터보다
네.
좀 더 스킬을 맞는 거에 대한 부담감이 적고,
네네네.
근데 이제 그 기동성이 좋아서
네.
마나가 좀 딸리는 단점이 있지만 마나가 좀 많이 딸리고요. 슈퍼하머가 좀 적어요. 슈퍼하머가 적고 마나가 딸리는 단점이 있지만 이제
네네.
그래도 이제 이 3대3 선멸전은 이제 3대3 PVP는 이제 데미지가 체력 방어력 개수, 그러니까 데미지 감소 개수, 그 체력 방어력 개수를 좀 고평가해요. 스킬에 이제 좀 스탯 그 방어 스킬이 있는 거랑
네네네.
파티 시너지랑 좀 이런 게 종합적으로
네네네.
그 선멸전 그 3on3 PVP에서
네네.
좀 이제 큰 영향력을 쳐가지고
네네네.
네, 그게 좀 이제 좋습니다. 하드 CC기가 없어요. 쓸만한 게 없고 하드 CC 이제 스턴
네.
같은.
네. All right. So we've got Battlemaster here, and he was kind of wondering whether he should put it between B or C. Now, it was actually coming from the S tier. It used to be in the S tier. This was a while ago though, but nerfs, again, this was a while ago, has brought it down to what he would say is a B tier here. they have what they actually do bring to the table is some team synergy. Just they have damage reduction buffs that they can apply for themselves, and they also have damage reduction buffs that they can apply for their party. So it's good for a team. However, they are a little bit mana starved, and they don't have that many super armors. They do have higher base stats, HP and defensive stats, comparatively speaking. But they lack in that regard with the lower mana. They're a little bit mana starved, and they don't have many super armors. And the other thing is that they lack hard CC. Again, we're not going to go into too much detail with the types of CCs. We can maybe do that in another video. But they lack hard CCs, so that's what brings the fighters down to a B tier.
Yeah. So Battlemaster, right? Between B and C, interesting. I would put it still at B because I still think it's relatively competitive anyway. I don't think it's like C tier or anything, and it's not like it's like that, like really difficult to play as well. Too many nerfs, yeah. Probably too many nerfs, yeah. Too many nerfs, I guess. Yeah, nerf a lot. Used to be in S tier, high base HP and defense stats because of the fighter martial artist class, which basically has a high base HP and defense to begin with, which is nice. Can frontline and soak a lot of damage and provide the damage reduction buff for the team. Always a really good utility, especially when it comes to team fight. Mana starve, lacks super armor. The thing about this is like you have a high base HP and defense, but you also lack super armor, which means you cannot trade hits as well. So your high base HP and defense is basically like you can survive more hits rather than like you can trade hits with enemies. So yeah, still makes it relatively difficult to play at the higher ranks as well. So yeah, has no hard CC is actually another thing, because like a lot of like classes has super armor, especially like when they have like a knockdown super armor. So not having a hard CC kind of like puts this down when it's going against them, because you cannot trade hits, and then you don't have hard CC to initiate as well. So if you both initiate together, you're just gonna lose basically. So yeah, Reaper at C, yeah. Thought it was good. I believe it was good, but I mean like I get like the his argument why he would put it at C. So yeah, it's S tier in 1v1, but 3v3 is downhill. It's not exactly like downhill as well. Well, there is also the class skill as well, but we already went through that earlier. So yeah, you can go back to the video later, I guess, for the Reaper one. But yeah, moving on for now. Yeah, I would put it at B still. Typhoon would put it at B and C. Maybe in the GM rank, it fall down even harder in the GM rank. Probably it could be, but yeah.
They lack hard CCs, so that's what brings the fighters down to a B tier. Let's talk about Infighter. Infighter는 어디로 넣을까요?
인파도 B로 넣겠습니다.
B. Alright, Infighter B.
인파는 이제 만화를 안 써서 이제 대신에 이제 충격과 그 아이덴티티,
네.
아이덴티티로 이제 그 코스트를 아이덴티티로 쓰죠.
네네네네.
코스트를 아이덴티티로 쓰는데 이제 만화가 없는 게 좀 이제 스킬 쿨도 짧고
Scrapper, yeah. Scrapper time, boys.
기동성이 좋고
Scrap some
체력
garbage.
방어력 개수도 좋아요. CC기가 좀 긴, 그러니까 스턴이 좀 길죠.
네네네.
스턴이 좀 긴 것도 좋은 스킬이고, 스페이스바가 2번이에요. 대시가 2번인데 이제 한 번 쓰면 5초, 두 번 쓰면 10초 이런 식으로 가긴 하는데 스페이스바가 이제 2번이라서 좀 활용도가 좋아요. 대신에 좀 이제 좀 피지컬이 많이 필요한 슈퍼마가 많아요. 그 에어본에 대한 면역이 좀
네.
에어본 슈퍼마가 좀 많고
네네.
좀 좋은 대신에 이제 스킬이 CC기에 좀 약하고 이제 스킬들이 좀 끊기기 쉬워요. 그러니까 DPS는 높은데 DPS 넣기 좀 힘들다.
Alright, so Infighters scrap.
Okay, one sec. Yeah, all classes are able to perform well in PvE. Yes.
Scrappers, they don't actually use mana.
It is
so,
Typhoon Jin.
One of the things in regards to skill usage is that it's good that they don't really use mana, but at the same time, their identity skill is that they get builders, essentially builders, right? It's a little bit more difficult to manage because you kind of have to micromanage it. However, they have low skill cooldowns. They have good HP defense, they have just good base stats for HP and defense. They have a long CC duration skill. They actually have 2 spacebar dash skills, but it works so that if you use it once, you have a 5-second cooldown. If you use it twice, you actually have to eat a 10-second cooldown. They have a lot of super armor. but the damage that you get out can be difficult to get out because you can be interrupted pretty easily. They do have high DPS, but again, it's not the easiest to get all that DPS out because it's easy to get interrupted as an infighter. And for that reason, we have them at a B tier.
Oh, okay. Next is Lancemaster, spoiler. Or Glavier, I should say. Would be B plus if that tier were to exist. Yeah. Does not consume any mana with low cooldown because you don't have mana in to begin with. Identity skill can be tricky to deal with because like you have your identity with the green and yellow and you have to manage it in the middle of it. So yeah, high base stats because of like a fighter martial arts class. So yeah. People that don't know this, by the way, it's like the spacebar dash for this in fighter, right? The spacebar dash for this is actually like a 2-step dash. If you only use it once, it goes for like 5-second cooldown. But if you use it twice, it goes to a 10-second cooldown. So that's what people like sometimes don't know about the class, like if they are new or anything. So yeah. Yeah. Good amount of super armors. Vulnerable to hard CC. Yeah. Good damage is easily interruptible. Difficult to get all of your damage out. Yeah, B tier though, I feel like it should be B to A for Infighter. I don't think it's like that, like, I don't think it's like Blaster tier, if that makes sense, I guess. I feel like I would put it at A still, if it was me, so yeah. Jun, you don't agree with this tier list? The tier list that he made 2-3 months ago, more accurate on meta. But there are like class balance changes as well, Jun. Like, Gunslinger is nerf. I agree with Gunslinger being like A as well now at this point. Because like 2-3 months ago, it's more, it's like balance changes that happened like a few weeks ago didn't apply, right? So yeah, more like A, yeah. Do you not agree with the Reaper, maybe, Jun? Probably, because I don't agree with the Reaper as well. But I mean, like I can see why he would put it down there as well. So yeah. But yeah, in fighter I would put it at A still. I don't think it's that weak. I don't think it's blaster level of like difficult to go again, difficult to play basically in the higher ranks. So yeah. Yep. All right, let's move on. Next is
it's easy to
Glavier.
get interrupted as an infighter, and for that reason, we have them at a B tier. 창수사, Lancemaster. Let's talk about Lancemaster. Where would the Lancemaster go?
상술사는 S 주겠어.
S tier. Okay.
이제 상술은
Reaper and Gunslinger should be in higher rank. I don't think Gunslinger should be in higher rank. The last nerf, I feel like put it like relatively on par with Devil Hunter. Reaper should be in higher rank in my opinion, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Lance S tier. Spoilers.
일단은 얘는 딜이 그러니까 DPS가 넣기 쉬워요. DPS가 이제 기본 스킬들, 그러니까 기본 이제 DPS가 센 스킬들이 아닌 일반 스킬들도 다 딜이 그냥 좀 남들보다 좀 세게 들어오고요. 네, 그거랑 스킬이 많은 게 장점이죠. 일단 스킬 아이덴티티가 이제 스킬 Z로 이제 Z를 눌러서 이제 스킬을 바꿀 수 있고 스탠스를 바꿔서 이제 스킬을 총 6개 쓰죠. 네. 총 6개 쓰는데 총 14개 쓰는데 그 스킬 많은 게 일단은 장점이에요. 일단 스킬 많은 게 장점이고 기동성이 엄청 좋아요. 이동기가 엄청 좋고 스킬 쿨타임이 좀 짧은 편이었는데 이번에 너프를 먹었어요. 그러니까 스킬이 많은 거에 비해 스킬 쿨타임이 짧았는데 이번에 좀 주요 스킬들이 너프를 먹어서 그러니까 좀 이제 힘이 좀 빠지긴 했는데 그래도 이제 에어본 다운 이런 스킬들이 좀 이렇게 좀 좋은 판정들의 스킬들이 많고요. 좋은 판정들의 스킬들이 많고 이제 딜 그만큼 이제 상대를 많이 눕힐 수 있는데 딜 세고 그다음에 CC기도 좀 좋은 거 가지고 있고 돌진 CC기를 가지고 있고 그러니까 돌진 스턴기를 가지고 있고 체방어도 나쁘지 않아요. 체력 방어력에서도 나쁘지 않고.
Sorry, it's really easy to apply your DPS as a Lancemaster to actually get that DPS off. It's much easier to actually get your damage out, right? So, and they also have a difference. Their identity skill allows them to change stances, which gives them literally twice the skills. You literally have double the skills. In this game, the more skills you have, just the better at the end of the day. They have really good mobility. They have low cooldowns, although recently, actually 쿨다운 너프는 언제였어요? 최근에요?
최근이에요. 저번 주인가?
maybe I think like around
What?
last week or so, roughly around then. Their skill cooldown times got nerfed, so they are a bit higher on some of the skills. They just have a really good damage they just have a really good kit for damage and for CC and CC types at the end of the day. Not only is it easy to get their damage off, but also their non-quote-unquote burst skills, kind of like just your regular attacks or regular skills that aren't supposed to do heavy amounts of damage. Even those skills do like good damage as well. So for all those reasons, we have a Lance Master at an S tier.
Yeah, so S tier, easy to get a lot of damage. Yeah, it's relatively easy because you have like a really good like CC as well, and then after that you can just like you have the CC, and then you have like the Cyclone where it's basically like knocks up enemies as well. So it's a lot of like really good CC to initiate, makes it like easy for you to dish out a lot of damage, and in general your skills also do a lot of damage. So yeah, 14 skills instead of 8 skills because of the stance. It's just like Devil Hunter and Gunslinger. The cooldown was nerfed, but honestly, it doesn't really matter that much because you have more skill to begin with than other people, right? It's like Devil Hunter and Gunslinger having 30 seconds on their shotgun, but it doesn't matter because you rotate through your skill anyway. So that nerf doesn't really like brought it down that much. So yeah, really good mobility as usual. Really good base stat because martial arts class, usual thing. So yeah. It's able to ground targets frequently. This I think like he means like CC's enemies, as in like knocks them down and a lot of other stuff basically. A lot of like land skill has like some form of CC that basically like forces enemies to use their spacebar and stuff like that. So yeah. But it did not change top ranking so much. For example, previous tier list, but in Holy Knight not on the same tier. It depends to be honest. I would still put them at the same tier anyway, June. If you want like a more spread out, then you can talk about details, but those are just semantics at this point, right? You're just talking about like, oh, Holy Knight slightly worse than Bard, put it on A tier, right? So it's just semantics at that point. I feel like if you're talking about more detail, then you can put this into like S into Z tier probably. So yeah. Soulmaster, let's go A or S. Soulmaster next. Okay, Soulmaster should be next after this. Soulmaster C. Nah, Soulmaster A, man. Soulmaster A. Soulmaster I feel like has such a versatile kit.
랜스 마스터 안 좋은 점은 그러면 뭐예요? 별로 없나요?
이제
네네.
뭐 그냥 뭐라고 하지? 뭔가 딱 엄청 이게 단점이다라고 말할 게 없어요.
네.
그러니까 좀
엄청-
어려워. 좀 본인이 잘하면 좋고요.
네네. No, okay. So I was asking, well, are there any like significant weaknesses and yeah, like outside of, you know, like outside of like just minor stuff, at the end of the day, it really just doesn't have any big significant weaknesses that some of these other classes have. You got to be good at the end of the day, right? To pull it off effectively. That's what he was saying. So, okay, that's good for me.
Yeah, so just get good, man, basically. It's hard to play, but at the same time, there is not really a lot of weaknesses, which I guess makes it really strong, right? If that is the case, right? So, yeah. Alright, let's go.
All right, so we're getting to our second to last
Soulmaster.
class here.
Or Soulfist.
Soulmaster.
기공사는 A급이요.
A급. A급이
A tier.
많네요. 그죠? There's a lot of A급.
기공사는 이제 데미지 감소.
네.
데미지 감소가 좀 좋고요. 그
네.
파티 데미지 감소. 쿨타임이 기공사가
네네네.
그 자기가 강할 때 이제 금강성공이라고 그 아이덴티티.
네네.
아이덴티티가 자기가 강할 때 강하고 좀 약할 때 약한 좀 그런 캐릭이긴 한데 자기가 강할 때 파티 데미지 감소의 쿨타임이 보통 길어요.
네네네.
보통 40초대인데 이 캐릭은 자기가 강할 때 파티 데미지 감소 스킬을 쓰면 쿨타임 감소 때문에 30초까지 떨어지고 그래서 좀 이제 다른 데미지 감소 캐릭터보다 데미지 감소를 좀 더 자주 돌릴 수 있고 이제 팀원 백업이 좋아요. 이제 면역기가 좀 적은 대신에 이제 경직 그 아까 제가 말한 거
네, 스태거. 네.
스태거 그 경직 슈퍼하머 스태거 슈퍼하머가 좀 없는 대신에 이제 DPS가 좀 잘 나와요. 한번 때리면 그 자기 턴 때 DPS가 엄청 세고요. 그리고 이동기 좋고요. 그러니까 기동성 그다음 좋고 이제
네.
스턴기가 원거리 백업이 힘 백업이 엄청 좋아요. 3대3에서 좋은 캐릭터. 단점은 이제 슈퍼아머
네네.
그 스태걸 슈퍼아머가 많이 없고 이제 자기가 약할 때 아이덴티티가 이제 그 리페어 시간이 필요해요. 이제 다시 레벨 3가 되면 이제 다시 본인이 이제 센 타이밍이 나오고
네네네.
다시 강한 타이밍을 통해서 이제 얼마나 운영을 그러니까 이제 자기가 강할 때 얼마나 세게 넣고 얼마나 세게 딜을 하고 DPS를 넣고 이제 자기가 약할 때 얼마나 DPS를 얼마나 잘 안 죽냐
네네.
얼마나 그 잘 살 수 있냐 이런 게 좀 그런 거죠.
Okay. 알겠습니다. All right, so Soulmaster, we have them in the A tier. Just out the gate, one of the things he mentioned is that there are not too many classes that are just considered super OP or super trash tier. They're all pretty tight. But as far as the Soulmaster goes, we're looking at a class that brings good damage reduction to the party, which is really good for team synergy, for team play. Cooldown times for that party damage reduction are a lot lower compared to some of these other classes. I think he was saying 45 seconds down to like 30, comparatively speaking. So they're really good at keeping that up there. Like they have better uptime on it. They have better uptime on that buff, but it also depends on the class identity skill that you have. So the way Soulmasters work, you kind of have you could think of them as like level 1, 2, and 3, and obviously the higher level you're at, I think like 20 or 25 second duration, you get really just strong. Like you just essentially get stronger. Again, we're gonna try and keep this really simple so that even people that don't really play this game, hopefully the people that don't even play this game just looking into it can maybe try and understand just through context. But yeah, they have uptime on that damage reduction buff, and it's kind of a lot of not only that but other things are reliant on that level 1, 2, or 3 buff, that identity skill buff that they have. Outside of that, they don't have a lot of super armor to staggering skills. They also have really good hard CCs. They're just good for 3v3 overall. Good mobility. The only thing that's really not so good about them is the fact that they don't have a lot of super armors to staggering skills. So you're a little bit prone to that. And if you can consider it a con, when you don't have that 20 to 25 second buff up and you go back to level 0 or base, you have to kind of manage that because you're significantly weaker when you don't have that buff up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Soulmaster. So let's move on to.
So yeah, Soulmaster, yeah. A lot of people come to my stream and ask, right, Soulmaster, is it weak? I just don't see them. Just because you don't see them, it just means it's less popular. It's not weak at all. I never thought of Soulmaster as weak at all. It just lost in favor compared to the newer classes, in my opinion, yeah. Like the newer classes comes out, it's strong, people wanna play it, and people play it right now. Soulmaster has always been strong from the start of the game, I feel like, and it wasn't really changed or anything. So yeah, I think it's in a really good spot basically. It has a really good mobility, really good damage, really good combo. Not a lot of super armor, but you can work around it because of your mobility as well, right? And the way the identity works, for people that didn't understand how like he said it, right? It's basically like Super Saiyan basically. There is like Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, and it buffs you more and more each time you go higher, right? So it's basically like when you're at 3, you have a short duration where you can output a lot of damage, like a lot of damage. And then after that, you go down to to level 0 and level 1, right, basically. And at that point, you're basically like, you don't do that much damage, but you still have a really good utility, like the damage reduction with the party, like other supports, or like a range stun. So yeah, it's DBZ class. Pretty much it's a DBZ class, yeah. Something like that, basically. You're relatively weak on like Super Saiyan 1, and at 3, you're really strong. You can basically delete classes at that point. So yeah. It's something that you get used to, especially with key as well, right? The resource system being the key is relatively hard to manage at the start because like you still need to learn how to manage it and not go to 0. And in PvP where everything is hectic, it's pretty difficult to learn that first, I guess, basically. It's Kaioken, hair color doesn't change. I guess so. You can call it that way, whatever it is you want to. Just making it like as simple as possible for people to understand. So, yep. That's basically Soulmaster. So yeah, the fact that like you don't see it that much in game doesn't mean it's weak at all. It just lost favor compared to the newer classes. Because newer classes, like newer classes have always been like really interesting, right? Because like you don't know how this class plays, so people move on to this one. Well, Soulmaster has been there at the start, Soulfist, as like a really good class basically, a really good class always. So that's just how it is basically. Soulmaster right there. And yeah, I think I agree with it being A. I always say it is as an A tier, even though like some people say it's not or anything. But yeah, I think like the way the kit works for like Soulmaster is just always versatile. It's always gonna be good unless they change how the kit works. So yep.
When
And
you
last
don't
class
have that
is
buff
Striker.
up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Soulmaster. So let's move on to Striker, and this is my first class. Happens to be the newest class. 스트라이커는 어떻게 생각하세요?
스트라이커는 B 등급 줄게요.
B. Okay.
B
So we got
tier
Striker
as
and B.
well.
배틀마스터랑 차이점이 DPS를 상대 그 대쉬 말고 그 넘어졌을 때 그 상대가 그거를 못 쓰게, 그러니까 상대가 그걸 못 쓰게 하드 CC를 넣고 콤보 시스템,
네네네.
그 콤보 하나에 DPS가 좀 잘 나와요. 배틀마스터보다 콤보 하나에 DPS가 잘 나오는 대신에 이제
네네네.
배틀마스터의 장점인 데미지 리덕션,
네.
그게 시너지, 그런
네네.
시너지가 없고 이제 개인, 그러니까 솔로 데미지 리덕션 그런 스킬도 없고요. 이제 그런 게 배틀마스터와 차이점이고요. 대신에 스트라이커는 배틀마스터가 좀 더 만화도 덜 딸리고 공격적으로 더 플레이할 수 있어요. 배틀마스터보다 그 딜도 좀 잘 뽑을 수 있고, 아이덴티티, 스트라이커 아이덴티티 그
네.
스킬이 배틀마스터한테는 없는 건데 그게 3on3 PVP에서 엄청 좋은,
네네네네.
네, 엄청 좋은 성능을 가지고 있어서 배틀마스터가 데미지 감소가 있어서 좀 더
네.
이제 맞으면서 플레이할 수 있는데, 스트라이커는 이제 데미지 감소가 없어서 좀 맞는데 리스크가 있는 대신에 좀 더 배틀마스터가 좀 더 공격적으로 플레이할 수 있다.
디펜스가 더 약한 거죠, 그러면.
네네네.
네. 그러면 그거 떠나서는 배틀마스터하고 비슷하네요, 그러면.
네,
나머지.
비슷하죠.
네네네.
스킬이 똑같아서.
Okay, so strikers, when we're talking about strikers, we've got them in the B tier, and they can combo pretty well. They can combo really well, and you can even combo people that are on the ground. So strikers, one of the things that they do well, especially better than battle masters, is that they can prevent targets from actually rolling when they're on the ground. So like when you're on the ground, you have the option to roll, which is I think on like a 15-second cooldown to break the CC. It's kind of like a CC break. As a striker, you can prevent that from happening. And they lack in terms of damage reduction synergy for the party, and for solo both. When it comes to comparing them to like a battle master, which they're very similar to. They don't have that aspect that the battle master does. However, strikers can play a little bit more offensive than the battle master at the cost of defense, so a little bit better offensively. And their identity skill, which is the orb generator, and the skill that you're probably going to be taking is like a double dash that has super armor. That skill is also very, very good especially for 3v3s. So that's pretty much it. But as far as this tier, especially for 3.
Right, yeah. So yeah, I don't agree with Battlemaster in Fast and Striker the same tier as well, Jun. I have the same opinion with you. I agree with Blaster being B tier though. So yeah, I went through it already, Lord. So you can maybe go back on the VOD or maybe like wait for it to be posted on YouTube maybe. But yeah. But I feel like Striker should be A. Yeah, I mean like I guess like I get why he put it on B. Same with Battlemaster. It's stronger. It's basically stronger. I think like Striker is basically a better Battlemaster. But I guess it does lack that like damage reduction for the party. It's party utility is what's lacking. And I guess like in terms of the high level play, Typhoon does what's the name? Value like team synergy like much higher basically, rather than just like this class can play more offensively as well. So yeah, I do think that like Striker is, I would put it at A still, but I can get why he would put it at B. So yeah, tier list needs a fifth tier between A and B. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's really that important for that one. I think they're relatively okay. So yeah, but there are some other classes that I don't really like. I would put it like slightly higher or slightly lower. But in general, right? In general, like it's really close by. So yeah, it's so close together. Yeah, but I mean, like I don't think that it's that much of an issue to put this so close together, June. It just shows that like the class is relatively balanced. But if you're talking about like very detailed like difference, then you will see like a different like tier list if that is the case. So yeah. But yeah, I would put striker at A instead of B. It's just of the value of like party synergy compared to like the individual skill basically. So yeah, and I think like this identity skill double dash knockup thing is like busted right there. Needs some nerf. I feel like. His points are quite too strong to actually disagree. So I don't know. Well, I mean like even if you disagree with it, you don't disagree like entirely to it, you know. Like it's more like I can see his point of view, right? So it's like a lot of stuff basically, Nuki. But yeah, even if you disagree, you don't really disagree for it like 10 out of 10 basically. So yeah. Arcana Demonic not A tier. I feel like they should still be relatively A tier. They're not blaster tier basically. But again, right, if you put everything down, then yeah, I guess you can put Arcana and Demonic or like B tier, while like the B becomes C, C becomes D, something like that. So yeah, yeah. If you ask in detail, it's a different case. But we're talking about like I mean like in general, right? In general. And then there is also like the skill level difference as well, Jun. We're not talking just about Grandmaster. We're talking about like in general. That's why Summoner is up here in S and Hawkeye is up here in A. So yeah, do we agree with Zerk and Destroyer? I don't agree with it. I feel like it should be A, but I can see why he would put it on B. Because like the way Destroyer and Zerk works is that your team works with you, not you work with them. So if you're, it's party reliant basically, if that makes sense. And party reliant is relatively difficult on like a solo queue, and that's why it's he put it at B tier. So yeah. Yeah, it's general, not for experienced queues, basically. Yep. Demonic bad super if you fight close or melee, but I mean like demonic is basically a range class. You're not supposed to fight close or melee in the first place, right? So that's just how it is basically.
33s.
It's
so
details, Jun. It's
that's
details.
pretty much it. But as far as this tier list goes with Typhoon here, this is pretty much it. So we have the Holy Knight, Bard, Summoner, Scouter, Lance in S tier. A Soulmaster Warlord. Soulmaster Warlord would be considered kind of like a hybrid support. And these two classes would be like a high A along with these S tier classes. Again, support is... anytime you have good support skills or a true support class, you're immediately put in the S tier. And then, again, I want to reiterate, there's a difference between Grandmaster play and Gold tier play and Bronze tier play and competitive play and solo queue and all that stuff. This tier list right here is based off of a solo queue 3v3 team deathmatch arena. Each class that we've talked about, there are things that we've talked about as far as like lower tier brackets and Grandmaster tier brackets and stuff like that. But this is pretty much it. Okay, guys? I appreciate you guys for coming in, and we'll wrap this one up.
Alright, yep. Well, that's basically what it is, boys. Yeah, so this is the guy, Kanon, and Typhoon as well. Do leave a follow and like the video. Do subscribe it as well. But yeah. Yeah, this is a good one right here. This is a pretty good one right here. So yeah, in the end, this is basically the tier list for those that are like looking for it. But yeah. B tier makes sense for the destroyer solo queue hinders people, especially if the class is reliant on team synergy. Yep. So you rely on your team to actually work with you rather than you work with them, and that's why it makes sense for them to put it at for him to put it at B tier. I can see it being a B tier basically, because like it's your party has to work with you rather than you work with them. So yeah. No. It was a joke, Rodo. It was a joke. Reaper alone at sea. Yeah, it is what it is. Yep. All right, and that's basically what it is, boys. That's the class tier for that one. Yeah. All in all, though, I think like I relatively agree with like most of the tier. If I disagree, I would just put it like slightly higher or slightly lower. Basically, that's everything right there. So yeah, if you wanna see like the specific part of it, you can go back to the VOD or like look behind basically. But yeah. yeah, we went through everything basically, and what I think about the class as well. So yeah. Alright, we'll wrap it up right here for now. Okay, okay.